I was raised by a loving mother, Patsy Taylor, and 4 siblings. I knew I was different from them by the way I always had to ask for help to get that bowl or cup from the top shelf. But, after a while I figured out another way to reach those things that were placed too high for me to reach. I found that if I used a chair I can reach anything I needed from the cupboards. When I was in school as a young boy, the other kids used to ask me, "Why do you hold your arms like that?" or used to laugh at me how I picked up the ball at recess. I remember saying to the kids, "I don't know, it's just how I was born." Of course they didn't get it still. All the questions kept coming. When I was in middle school, a lot of kids called me gay. I told them, "No, I am not gay." All this negativity I received got so bottled up, until I learned how to dance, by watching my older sibling. There was a time when I was 11 years old I entered a Michael Jackson contest and came in 2nd place. Because of being teased all the time at the age of 14, I went to my mom and asked if she could take me to the doctor and ask if my arms could extend. Madigan Army Hospital said, "When I turn 16 years old come back and we could look more into this." Finally at 16 years old, Mom and I headed back to the Army Hospital and they said, because there is no joint in the elbow, my arms would not be able to extend down, or be able to bend back up. I said, since I have been living my life and adapting this far, I'd rather keep it the same. When I was in high school, I found out from my doctors that I had protein in my urine. They said, "No need to worry about anything, but we will continue to monitor you." I continued to follow up with my doctors as years passed by. I had my first child Willa in 2004, my wife at the time, and I was wondering if our child would have the same type of disease as I had. But there were no signs at all. My second son Anias was born January 14, 2008. It seemed that a month later I was developing these lower back pains. I remember coming home work and have my firstborn Willa sit or play on my back. Oh, it felt so good. I let this pain happen for some time, until one day I found myself in the men's bathroom vomiting and feeling really bad for at least 1 hour and a half. I told myself, okay, enough is enough. And got the strength to walk from my job, which was IBM, to Harborview Hospital. I walked into the ER and after the doctors ran a bunch of tests and returned back in the room and said, "We have to get you started on dialysis as soon as possible. Because neither one of your kidneys are functioning." I just started crying uncontrollably for hours, thinking I was about to die. My family and close friends came up to the hospital and visited with me, encouraging me that everything is going to be all right by lifting me up in the Lord. The day I finally went home from the hospital felt so good, but at the same time it felt weird. I no longer had the energy I used to have, and 3 times a week for 4 hours a day I had to go to Northwest Kidney Centers and get plugged up to a dialysis machine from a catheter I had hanging from the side of my chest. It got so bad at one point that I fell into a depression stage, because it was like my friends was no longer calling and checking up on me, and my wife at the time started making me feel useless. I had lost my job because I kept going back and forth to the hospital for checkups, and trying to get used to this new kidney of my brother's. Finally one day, something came over me and I kept telling myself, once I get better, and healthy enough, I am moving out of my current situation, and going to do all the things in life I felt I was here on earth to do, and be. Even though, I don't believe it was my ex-wife's fault of having a negative behavior towards me. It would have been nice if there was a book written called What to Do When Your Spouse Becomes Sick in the Relationship. But there isn't. In time, I was asked by my kidney coordinator if I wouldn't mind talking with new patients that just received a kidney transplant, on how to get out of a depressed state of mind, what to expect after transplant, what are your limitations, and what are your strengths. This was the beginning of my way of giving back to the community, and being a servant to others outside of myself. For being on dialysis for 3 years, it started to show a pattern that every 6 months, My catheter was getting infected and I had to go back to the hospital to get the old one out and a new one placed back in, but it was always in another location of my chest and neck. Until one year, my doctors asked if I knew of a living donor. I reached out to my family members and right out the gate my oldest brother Ray of 4 siblings stepped up, received all the testing required and it came back as a perfect match. On November 14, 2001 I received my transplanted kidney from my brother Ray. All was starting to go well for me, and my second chance at life, until the year 2014. Mind you, I was back working a full-time job and trying to stay consistent on taking my medication 4 times a week, I'd say about 15 plus pills a day. I went to pick up my medication, and was told I overqualify to be on a charity-type program because they said I made too much money. I went to apply for any type of assistance possible from the state, to the Northwest Kidney Centers, and hospital after hospital, but kept being denied. A whole month had passed, until one day I received a call from my coordinator letting me know that I was finally approved for a program that will help me to pay for my anti-rejection medications. A week after restarting to take my medication again, I started to feel ill. I drove myself up to the University of Washington Hospital, and was admitted shortly after because they said my body was trying to fight off the foreign transplanted kidney. For the next 2 weeks, they gave me a high dose of prednisone to suppress the kidney, but I did not know years later that I would be a diabetic from all the sugar that was in the prednisone I was given. So, yeah, I went from a healthy kid to now a young man with a transplanted kidney, hypertension, and now a diabetic. A bit after all of this, I had 2 more children, Jadian and Nathaniel, and I wouldn't change my life for nothing else, but a good father to all 4 of my loving boys. I started to get more involved in the Northwest Kidney Centers by thinking of a way I could use my music talents and apply them to current health. I scheduled a sit-down meeting with Joyce, the active director of NWKC at the time. She thought my ideas were great. A while later I heard that there were local black community health fair events along the lines of what I had outlined earlier, and it had involved doctors, restaurants, that prepared foods that had low salt, and low sugar. They even had a workout portion from kids to adults could get involved in. I met Zarenka, a community relations coordinator, at the Northwest Kidney Center Health Fest event and started to volunteer for the community events about every year thereafter, and because of my music background and talents, I was selected to be on the board of committee. My role was to handle the entertainment. There was even a year I was asked to be on the panel of discussing regarding kidney disease, and what are the ups and downs about being on dialysis, and not having a kidney transplant. One year, I was able to perform my own music on stage, and had a blessed time doing it. So, I will accept this award and will share it everyone in the community that has or had a transplant of any kind and don't believe you still have what it takes to do anything you set your mind to and to get it done. Thank you.